Greystone pines lay tucked amid gentle hills, each street lined with matching sycamore trees. Crisp morning light revealed tidy lawns, uniform mailboxes, and houses painted in softly coordinated hues. A prominent sign at the entrance read, "Welcome to Greystone Pines," a community of neighbors in flowing script. Many residents felt proud of how pristine and orderly their environment was, thanks, in large part, to the Greystone Pines Homeowners Association, HOA. As in any regulated suburb, the HOA had rules for landscaping, fence heights, even when trash cans could be placed outdoors. Many found these guidelines reassuring, preventing chaos or unsightly disrepair. Others found them overbearing but complied to avoid fines. Meanwhile, among the handful of HOA board members, one presence loomed largest, Brenda Alderman, though everyone discreetly called her Karen. Middle-aged, with perpetually pursed lips and a no-nonsense attitude, Karen took the HOA's standards to an extreme. She patrolled daily, snapping photos of minor violations, from paint chips to fallen leaves, emailing them to the board as urgent issues. Some neighbors privately joked she had X-ray vision for bylaw infractions. But beneath the jest lay real irritation. Karen's zealous enforcement overshadowed neighborly goodwill. In the coming weeks, her relentless determination to police every detail of Greystone Pines would collide with a soft-spoken elderly resident's peaceful life. Karen would single out a harmless roof as hazardous, lodging baseless complaints that threatened to cost the senior thousands of dollars. Yet ironically, her sabotage would spark a creative defense, neighbors harnessing cutting-edge technology to clear the woman's name, uniting the entire block against Karen's petty tyranny. For now, the stage was set. The quiet joys of Greystone Pines masked an undercurrent of tension, about to erupt when Karen's eye fell on one unsuspecting home. There, an elderly widow lived contentedly, never suspecting her roof would become the target of Karen's next crusade. Lucille Galloway, a widow in her late 70s, had resided in Greystone Pines for over 2 decades. She'd watched the neighborhood mature from new builds into a settled community. Her home, a modest one-story cottage with a small front porch, was her pride and joy, decorated with wind chimes, potted geraniums, and a tall lamp beside the walkway. Over the years, neighbors found her kind-hearted, always ready with a plate of cookies or a listening ear. Despite her warmth, Mrs. Galloway led a quiet life. She had no immediate family in the area. Occasional visits from distant nieces or nephews brightened her days. She managed daily chores fine, though she moved slowly, aided by a sturdy cane. Her finances were limited, her late husband's pension and Social Security just enough to maintain the house. She had never missed an HOA due, nor had the board ever cited her for violations. That changed the day Karen noticed a small swirl of leaves collecting in Mrs. Galloway's gutter. Peering more closely, Karen guessed the roof might be aging, perhaps missing a shingle corner. Eager to enforce property standards, Karen singled out the home as a potential code violation. She typed up a complaint that Mrs. Galloway's roof was dangerous and in dire need of replacement, claiming it threatened the property values. The initial official complaint arrived in Mrs. Galloway's mailbox in a crisp, white envelope bearing the HOA seal. Confused, she opened it to discover accusations that her roof was disintegrating, allegedly posing safety risks. She recalled no such damage. A neighbor once helped clear leaves off the gutter, finding nothing amiss. Distressed, she called the number on the letter, leaving a voicemail for the HOA board. Over the phone, Ms. Delgado, the HOA president, sounded baffled. She'd known no major complaint about Galloway's roof. Ms. Delgado promised to look into it, suspecting Karen's involvement. Thus began the swirl of confusion around Mrs. Galloway's roof. Innocent, oblivious to any real problem, she found herself singled out by Karen's unsubtle contrived crusade. Over the next weeks, the matter would escalate into repeated false reports, threatening to bury her in undue expenses, unless neighbors intervened. At the next HOA meeting, Ms. Delgado brought up the surprise complaint about Mrs. Galloway's roof. Karen confirmed she had filed it, claiming she'd observed multiple cracked shingles and a sagging structure, presenting photos from her phone. The low-resolution images didn't clearly show major issues, just a slight shadow near the roof's edge. Another board member, Mr. Powers, asked if Karen had actual evidence of structural problems. Karen insisted she'd personally seen the worrisome dips. Ms. Delgado, aware of Mrs. Galloway's impeccable track record, proposed a simple solution. Ask Mrs. Galloway to get a reputable roofer's inspection. If no hazard was found, the complaint would be dropped. Karen, though, demanded the HOA issue a formal notice, forcing immediate repairs or replacement. She alleged the roof risked water infiltration, damaging the entire row of houses. Mr. Powers noted the houses were single detached units, so that seemed far-fetched. The board decided on a compromise. They'd send a letter recommending an inspection within 30 days, not a formal violation yet. Ms. Delgado refused to escalate without confirmation. Karen left the meeting dissatisfied, muttering that Ms. Galloway was too old to maintain her house properly. The rest recognized the cruelty in that statement. When Ms. Galloway received the letter urging an inspection, she felt anxious. Hiring roof inspectors could be expensive. She dreaded an unneeded replacement. Meanwhile, Karen told neighbors the board was letting a dangerous roof remain, sowing alarm. Some neighbors, worried, asked Ms. Galloway if she indeed had roof troubles. Feeling embarrassed, she reiterated she'd never noticed leaks or damage. Thus, the first wave of Karen's claims left Mrs. Galloway uneasy and flustered. Ms. Delgado privately told her not to panic, but the official letter was real. If no inspector's report came, the board might side with Karen eventually. The stage was set for further friction, with Mrs. Galloway seeking a cost-effective route to prove her roof was sound, while Karen relentlessly pressed for a new condemnation. Reluctantly, Mrs. Galloway searched the phone book for roofing companies. She arranged 2 site visits. The first inspector arrived, set up a ladder, only to find a swarm of wasps near the eaves. He recommended fumigating before climbing. Mrs. Galloway, overwhelmed, realized she'd have to handle pest control first, adding expense. The second company gave a quick glance from the ground, issued a broad quote for partial replacement, but seemed more interested in upselling a full new roof. Unsure whom to trust, Mrs. Galloway found the quotes confusing, ranging from $2,000 to $8,000. She worried about unscrupulous contractors exploiting her. Meanwhile, Karen strolled by one day as the ladder was up, remarking, "Finally doing something about that hazard, I see." Mrs. Galloway bit her tongue, not wanting conflict. She was nearing tears, imagining a huge bill to fix a roof that might not even be broken. Neighbors learned of her predicament. A father named Jason and a mother named Yvonne visited her, offering moral support. They believed Karen was manufacturing a crisis. Yvonne said her husband, who once worked construction, could do a quick check for free. Ms. Galloway accepted. That evening, Yvonne's husband ascended the ladder, scanning the roof. He found some worn shingles, but no glaring structural hazard, no major cracks. He concluded it was in fair shape, maybe needing routine maintenance soon, but no immediate threat. Karen, though, kept filing fresh complaints, water stains, mold concerns, potential collapse. The board, pressured, repeated that an official roofer's sign-off or staff inspector's check was needed to quell the matter. Ms. Galloway felt helpless. Even if she got a favorable report from one contractor, Karen might claim bias or insufficient evidence. She needed a more conclusive method to quell the rumor. Meanwhile, Ms. Delgado advised her to gather firm documentation to present at the next board meeting. That sparked an idea among neighbors. What if they used drone inspection, capturing high-resolution imagery from every angle, fully clarifying the roof's condition? One evening, Ms. Galloway sat with a few concerned neighbors in her living room, discussing Karen's onslaught of hazard claims. They recognized that multiple contractors gave vague or pushy advice, and Karen's evidence was just grainy photos. They needed something definitive, a vantage that clearly showed every shingle, every seam. A teenage neighbor, Mark, piped up, "My uncle has a drone photography business. He does real estate tours, checking rooftops for potential repairs. Maybe we can hire him to do a professional aerial inspection." Ms. Galloway, at first uncertain, realized it might be perfect. Drone technology allowed close-up, high-resolution images from all angles, far more thorough than a quick glance from ground level. The cost might be less than a full official inspection, or at least provide valuable proof. Jason suggested they could crowdfund the fee, neighbors would gladly pitch in. They believed the final footage would either confirm minor repairs or exonerate Ms. Galloway from needing a costly replacement. More importantly, it would publicly refute Karen's claims if the roof turned out sound. Ms. Galloway, still uneasy about technology, agreed to try. She had no desire for a brand new roof if unnecessary. And with Karen bombarding the board, Ms. Galloway needed a powerful defense. The group decided to contact Mark's uncle, Mr. Perez, who ran a small drone inspection service. He'd produce a detailed report plus video or photos. They'd present it to Ms. Delgado, clearing Ms. Galloway's name. Karen, meanwhile, continued fueling panic, emailing neighbors about dangerous debris falling soon. Ms. Galloway quietly pinned her hopes on the drone plan. If successful, it might humiliate Karen's smear campaign and protect Ms. Galloway from unwarranted expenses. Freed from guesswork or contractor upsells, the drones would reveal the truth. Within a week, Mr. Perez agreed to perform a thorough drone roof survey at Ms. Galloway's house, scheduling it for a sunny Saturday morning. He explained the process. He'd pilot a small, high-resolution camera drone around the roof, capturing detailed images from multiple angles, scanning for missing shingles, cracks, or water damage. Then he'd compile the footage into a report. The cost was moderate, $400, but a group of neighbors insisted on covering it. They wanted to stand against Karen's malicious falsehoods. On the scheduled day, Ms. Galloway stood nervously on her driveway, Mr. Perez setting up the drone. A small crowd of neighbors gathered to watch. Ms. Delgado came to observe, curious about the technology. Karen was nowhere in sight, though rumor said she might be lurking behind curtains. The drone lifted off with a gentle whir, ascending to the roofline. Ms. Galloway's heart pounded, hoping it revealed no major issues. For 15 minutes, Mr. Perez guided the drone around, the camera feeding real-time footage to a tablet. Observers gasped at how crisp the images were, every shingle's edge visible, every gutter seam. At a glance, Mr. Perez saw only mild wear. Certainly not catastrophic or dangerous, he remarked. Ms. Galloway nearly wept with relief. Ms. Delgado nodded, seeing no sign of massive cracks or rotting beams. The drone soared to vantage points inaccessible by standard ladders, ensuring no corner was hidden. As the drone landed, Ms. Galloway thanked Mr. Perez, who promised a digital report ready in 2 days. The neighbors cheered softly, aware they'd soon have conclusive proof against Karen's fabricated claims. Ms. Delgado said she'd schedule a board meeting to discuss the new findings. Freed from speculation, Ms. Galloway felt hopeful. Once this evidence was shared, the board would likely drop Karen's allegations. The entire block sensed a triumphant outcome approaching, overshadowing Karen's fearmongering. For Ms. Galloway, the day ended with a rare smile. Mr. Perez worked quickly, editing the raw drone video into a concise highlights reel. He emailed Ms. Galloway and Ms. Delgado a link the next afternoon. The opening shots showed the drone panning across Ms. Galloway's roof from above, each tile crisp in the midday sun. Then the camera zoomed near the eaves, gutters, and ridge vents. No glaring cracks, no missing tiles, minimal debris. The footage even showcased a close-up of the ridge cap, debunking Karen's alleged major sag. Ms. Galloway watched from her old desktop computer, tears of relief welling up. She felt validated. Ms. Delgado, too, found no sign of trouble. Meanwhile, Mr. Perez's final note concluded. In my professional view, the roof is stable with typical wear for a structure of its age, requiring no urgent repairs. Perfect. A thorough, unbiased professional statement backing Ms. Galloway. Ms. Delgado forwarded it to the rest of the HOA board, planning to put the roof hazard claim on the upcoming agenda for immediate resolution. Neighbors, hearing Ms. Galloway's joy, felt satisfaction that Karen's false alarms would be exposed. Some joked about Karen accusing the drone of being rigged. Freed from ignorance, the community recognized that modern technology had provided a definitive advantage. If Karen tried to dispute the footage, she'd have to produce actual evidence, which she lacked. Ms. Galloway no longer feared random contractor quotes or costly re-roofing. She now possessed professional confirmation that her roof was fine. Karen, learning of the drone footage, fumed. She posted on the community forum that private drones might violate privacy, indicating she might challenge the method. But Ms. Delgado pointed out that Ms. Galloway had explicitly invited the drone to survey her own property, well within legal rights. Freed from plausible counters, Karen prepared for a final stand at the board meeting, hoping to salvage her claims. Yet the unstoppable tide of evidence soared against her. As the board meeting approached, Ms. Delgado added a key item to the agenda: review of drone inspection on Mrs. Galloway's roof. She planned to show the short video to the entire board, letting them see the roof's excellent condition. Meanwhile, Karen, realizing the threat, scrambled for new angles. She typed frantic emails alleging the drone footage might only show some sections, or the owners might have temporarily patched the worst spots. Ms. Delgado replied that the drone captured all angles. Ms. Galloway had no time, money, or reason to hide repairs. Karen's disclaimers sounded desperate. In hushed corners, neighbors whispered that if Karen insisted on calling the roof dangerous after seeing the footage, she'd look foolish. Some predicted she might pivot, claiming the board should have forced the roof fix earlier. Others suspected she might storm out of the meeting. Ms. K, a friend from a previous fiasco, told Ms. Galloway, "Karen typically doubles down. Brace yourself." Ms. Galloway nodded, though she felt calmer with the drone proof in hand. Karen tried one last ploy, emailing the city code enforcement with a complaint about structural hazards in Ms. Galloway's house. But an official city inspector responded that the HOA's own drone evidence suggested no violation. Without substantial new claims, the city refused to open a file. Karen's route to external authorities dead-ended. Freed from illusions of municipal backup, she recognized the board meeting would decide everything. Determined to salvage her position, Karen prepared a dramatic presentation, pulling old, zoomed-in photos presumably showing cracked tiles. But without real proof, it was a losing battle. She pinned her hopes that some board members might still side with caution, ordering Ms. Galloway to do partial repairs. Ms. Galloway, for her part, readied the printed drone report, the video queued on Ms. Delgado's laptop. The stage was set for a confrontation that threatened to bury Karen's credibility once and for all. The night of the board meeting, the community hall filled with residents, curious about the outcome of Ms. Galloway's roof dispute. Ms. Delgado led the agenda swiftly until reaching the item: review of Mrs. Galloway's alleged hazardous roof. Karen sat at the table, arms folded, wearing a stern expression. Ms. Galloway quietly clutched a folder containing the drone inspection prints, accompanied by Ms. K and a few supporters. Ms. Delgado summarized the situation, repeated complaints from Karen about a dangerously decaying roof, plus Ms. Galloway's drone inspection apparently contradicting those claims. She invited Ms. Galloway to share the official report. Mr. Perez was in attendance, providing a short statement on how the drone footage was collected. Then Ms. Delgado played the video on a projector. The crisp images of a mostly intact, stable roof appeared, leaving the audience murmuring in admiration. After the clip ended, Ms. Galloway read the concluding line from the drone inspector's summary: "No urgent structural defects or hazards observed." Applause arose from neighbors. Ms. Delgado turned to Karen. "These images seem clear. Do you still maintain there's a hazard?" Karen, flustered, presented her own phone photos, grainy shots with unclear angles. She insisted she'd seen cracks. But Mr. Perez calmly pointed to the drone's high-resolution coverage. Karen's pictures seemed inconclusive. Board member Mr. Powers asked if Karen had any professional roofer's verification. She did not. Another board member, Ms. Floyd, said the drone evidence sufficed to dismiss the complaint. Ms. Delgado called for a vote. Should the HOA lift all warnings and consider Ms. Galloway's roof fully compliant unless new evidence emerged? The board voted 4-1 in favor, with Karen the lone dissenter. Cheers erupted among the audience. Ms. Galloway exhaled relief, tears in her eyes, no longer overshadowed by false accusations. Karen, outraged, demanded an independent inspection. Ms. Delgado retorted that Ms. Galloway had no burden to comply further, given the conclusive drone footage. Freed from spurious charges, Ms. Galloway was exonerated. The fiasco ended in Karen's defeat. News of Ms. Galloway's triumphant board verdict spread throughout Greystone Pines. Neighbors congratulated her, praising how calmly she endured Karen's harrying. Many felt inspired by the drone tactic. a modern solution that outmaneuvered petty attempts to sow doubt. Ms. Galloway displayed the official letter from the board clearing her of any roof violations. A wave of relief washed over her. No more dreaded letters in the mail. No more fear of forced repairs. Karen, stung by the public humiliation, retreated from public view. Her usual morning inspection walks slowed. Some neighbors saw her glare from her window as Ms. Galloway strolled by with Ms. K, smiling. Some quietly told Ms. Galloway that Karen had threatened to prove the roof is defective eventually, though none took that threat seriously. Freed from official channels, Karen lacked the power to act further. Sensing the fiasco's end, Ms. Delgado assured Ms. Galloway that the board would not revisit the matter unless genuine evidence arose. Ms. Galloway wrote a heartfelt thank you note to Mr. Perez, whose drone footage had liberated her from unwarranted stress. Meanwhile, Ms. K teased that maybe drones would become the new norm for verifying compliance. Ms. Delgado half-joked about the HOA purchasing their own drone someday, though that might give Karen more mischief potential. Among older neighbors, stories circulated of how Ms. Galloway overcame adversity with a forward-thinking approach. Many recognized that Karen's false claims ironically spurred a progressive resolution, forging solidarity among them. Ms. Galloway found her quiet nights calmer, no longer haunted by the threat of costly roofing bills. Freed from overshadowing negativity, her life returned to peaceful rhythms. The entire block saw Karen's meltdown as a cautionary tale. Attempts to peddle lies crumble when confronted by communal unity and modern technology. Despite her public loss, Karen refused to vanish. She posted on the neighborhood forum, accusing the drone operator of manipulating angles and Ms. Galloway of covering up damage before filming. The community largely ignored these rants. A couple of Karen's old allies also distanced themselves, having glimpsed the video. Freed from illusions, they recognized her campaign was baseless. One evening, Karen cornered Ms. Delgado after a minor board session, demanding they allow a second, officially licensed roofing firm to assess Ms. Galloway's property. Ms. Delgado calmly reminded her the HOA had accepted the drone inspection as conclusive. If Ms. Galloway was comfortable, the matter ended. Furious, Karen retorted, "This sets a bad precedent. Anyone can fake pictures." Ms. Delgado ended the conversation, refusing to indulge more conflict. Neighbors saw Karen's frustration manifest in petty ways, scolding a teen for storing a bike near the sidewalk, complaining about a slight variation in house trim color. But these trifles garnered minimal response. Freed from fear, Ms. Galloway strolled daily, greeting passers-by with a gentle wave. Occasionally, some approached to praise her composure throughout the ordeal. She'd laugh softly, "I never wanted a fight, just to live in peace." Karen recognized her hold on the community had slipped. She threatened to run for HOA president next cycle, but many whispered she'd face a crushing defeat given her fiasco. Freed from illusions of unstoppable authority, Karen found herself overshadowed by the neighborly unity that overcame her smear campaign. Ms. Galloway's roof, ironically, emerged as a symbol of technology-driven truth. No matter how Karen insisted otherwise, the board's official stance sealed the matter. A few weeks after Ms. Galloway's victory, a fierce thunderstorm blew through Greystone Pines. Branches snapped, rain pelted, and many rooftops faced new leaks or damage. Ms. Galloway worried. What if her roof truly had an unseen weakness? She prayed the drone footage had been correct. The next morning, as neighbors assessed storm impacts, Ms. Galloway found her roof fully intact. No missing shingles, no leaks. She sighed in relief, though a big branch had landed in her yard. Karen, seeing the storm's aftermath, pointed to random fallen shingles on the road near Ms. Galloway's block. She tried again to claim they came from Ms. Galloway's roof. But residents investigating the broken pieces discovered they matched a neighbor's older garage roof. Freed from suspicion, Ms. Galloway's roof stayed proven secure. The entire fiasco reaffirmed the drone's accuracy. In a comedic twist, the neighbor who lost shingles ended up using the same drone inspection service recommended by Ms. Galloway's supporters. The drone revealed precisely which section needed repair. The neighbor arranged a quick fix at minimal cost. Ms. K teased that Karen's roof crusade inadvertently popularized drone-based solutions in the community. Freed from guesswork, more neighbors recognized the value of advanced technology to confirm repairs. Karen, seeing her argument unravel, withdrew from any further roof talk. She tried pivoting to other infractions, but the fiasco had eroded her authority. Ms. Galloway's stormproof roof provided a final, tangible demonstration that no hidden hazard existed. Freed from all doubt, Ms. Galloway found newfound confidence, hosting small tea gatherings with the crafters, joking about how her dangerous roof survived the worst storm of the year. To honor the communal support that exonerated Ms. Galloway, Ms. K proposed a small drone day event in the local park. The idea was to showcase the new technology that resolved the fiasco, plus celebrate Ms. Galloway's relief. They'd invite Mr. Perez back to do a demonstration flight, explaining how drones can safely check rooftops. Ms. Delgado embraced the concept, hoping it would finalize the matter in the public eye. On a mild Saturday afternoon, neighbors gathered near the park's gazebo. Ms. Galloway wore a soft smile, greeting those who came to see the demonstration. Mr. Perez displayed the drone, explaining how realtors and contractors often used aerial views for accurate assessments. The Reeds from a prior fiasco also attended, recalling how advanced solutions overcame sabotage in their own story. Freed from fear or negativity, the event exuded a casual positivity. Karen was spotted hovering at the perimeter, arms folded, refusing to approach. She might have wanted to disrupt, but Ms. Delgado and Ms. K kept her at bay with polite, pointed gazes. Freed from her intrusion, Mr. Perez launched the drone overhead, capturing a panoramic view of the park and some rooftops beyond. Children cheered at the live video feed. Ms. Galloway, quietly emotional, recognized how the same technology had saved her from exploitation. After the flight demonstration, Ms. K gave a short speech praising neighborly solidarity. When Karen's false claims threatened Ms. Galloway's finances and peace of mind, we overcame it with facts and empathy. That's the Elmwood spirit. Applause rose, with Ms. Galloway teary-eyed. Freed from overshadowing fear, she whispered thanks to the crowd. The moment felt like a gentle coda to the once tense roof fiasco. Despite the event's peaceful resolution, Karen refused to remain silent. She attempted a new angle, emailing the HOA board about privacy concerns from drone usage. She alleged the new drone fad allowed neighbors to spy on each other's property. Ms. Delgado responded that Ms. Galloway's drone inspection was invited for her own roof, fully legal. Freed from any real policy conflict, Ms. Delgado dismissed Karen's complaint. Karen next posted on the neighborhood forum, spouting warnings about a future of drones snooping into windows. Another user retorted that the difference is that Ms. Galloway requested a roof inspection. There's no random spying here. Freed from illusions of widespread support, Karen's thread garnered minimal sympathy. The fiasco had taught the community to question her claims. People teased that Karen might fear anyone filming her yard for petty infractions. Ms. K. Riley noted that if Karen feared intrusive drone flights, she might moderate her own intrusive approach to neighbors. Meanwhile, Ms. Galloway carried on, undaunted. Freed from the roof fiasco, she tended her geraniums, invited friends for tea, and occasionally offered cookies to passers-by. Many complimented her resilience. The fiasco, ironically, boosted her standing as a sweet but firm neighbor who overcame intimidation. Karen's next steps, like complaining about a slightly tall bush in Ms. Galloway's yard, found zero traction with the board. Ms. Delgado waved her off politely. Freed from illusions, board members recognized Karen's vendetta for what it was. In effect, Ms. Galloway had become symbolically shielded by the community. No matter how Karen escalated, the fiasco's resolution overshadowed her attempts. The new normal left Ms. Galloway safe from petty harassment, proving the unstoppable synergy of evidence-based truth and communal empathy. Weeks passed with no new drama swirling around Ms. Galloway's roof. Freed from the overshadowing false claims, the entire block returned to typical suburban routines. Children biked on sidewalks, seniors trimmed hedges, dogs barked at mail carriers. The crafters resumed their monthly meetups in the community center, occasionally inviting Ms. Galloway, who crocheted potholders. Karen tried reasserting relevance by pointing out minor issues, a squeaky swing at the park, or a lampost's chipped paint. But Ms. Delgado and the board politely noted these were low priorities. Freed from the old roof saga, the board had bigger tasks, like planning a small spring festival. Ms. K teased that after the fiasco, the HOA recognized a new moral approach, not chasing every petty complaint. At Ms. Galloway's home, the day-to-day routine felt lighter. No anxious mail from the HOA arrived. No random contractors pressed her for replacements. She occasionally glimpsed Karen pass by, phone in hand, scowling. But Ms. Galloway needn't hide. Her roof was proven sound. Freed from paying thousands for needless repairs, she saved up funds for other minor renovations, like painting her front porch. One morning, Ms. Galloway discovered a small thank-you note from Mr. Perez, reaffirming how rewarding it was to help her. She realized how adversity had introduced new friendships. Freed from the overshadowing tension, Ms. Galloway found new energy to connect with neighbors, planning a quiet spring potluck. The fiasco's legacy? A more supportive neighborhood that recognized how easily baseless fear can unravel, but also how quickly neighbors can unify around truth. The meltdown over Ms. Galloway's roof inflicted lasting damage on Karen's standing. The neighbors who once found her efficient and organized realized she weaponized regulations to bully a vulnerable widow. Freed from illusions of her being just a stickler for rules, many saw her acts as personal vendettas. The sabotage fiasco, though less overt than physically damaging a property, was morally damning in the community's eyes. At an HOA meeting for the upcoming board election, Ms. Delgado ran unopposed for president. Karen, normally itching for a higher seat, recognized her minimal chance of success. Freed from illusions, she didn't even file candidacy. Another seat went to Ms. K. Freed from Karen's influence, the board composition skewed more moderate, focusing on genuine community improvements rather than petty policing. Karen's old clique dissolved, leaving her isolated. Some neighbors who'd once believed her roof hazard claims apologized to Ms. Galloway. Freed from blame, Ms. Galloway accepted their apologies with grace. "I know Karen can be persuasive," she said softly, "but the truth will out." People nodded, recalling the drone footage that laid bare Karen's lies. Freed from misinformation, the entire fiasco became a cautionary story. Though Karen still owned a home in Greystone Pines, her interactions grew rare. She seldom spoke at board meetings, as no one listened. Freed from overshadowing fear, the crafters, Ms. Galloway, Ms. K, and others built new communal bonds. The fiasco's fallout ironically strengthened neighborly ties. Ms. Delgado gently pointed out how negativity can unify a block in solidarity. And Ms. Galloway's roof, ironically, became a local symbol of how technology and compassion overcame hostility. In the lull after the fiasco, Ms. Delgado and Ms. K brainstormed improvements for the HOA. One suggestion was to incorporate drone-based annual roof checks as an optional service for seniors or those with limited mobility. Freed from the fiasco, the board realized how helpful quick aerial scans were in preventing misunderstandings or unscrupulous contractors. Ms. Galloway found the idea intriguing. She offered to be a pilot participant next year, ensuring her roof remained stable. Freed from the overshadowing forced requirement, it would be purely voluntary, giving elderly homeowners a convenient resource. Ms. Delgado believed the cost might be partially offset by the association. People recognized that Karen's fiasco ironically introduced a beneficial approach, replacing guesswork with tangible data. Word spread, and many in the community supported adopting such a progressive method. Freed from illusions that rules alone guaranteed safety, the board recognized technology's role in delivering clarity. Ms. K teased that the same Karen who misused the system forced us to find advanced solutions. Ms. Delgado nodded, silver linings from adversity. Meanwhile, Ms. Galloway discovered an uplifting sense of belonging. Freed from fear that random accusations might reemerge, she embraced an active role, advising neighbors on gardening, attending crafters' potlucks, even planning a small reading group for seniors. The fiasco ironically integrated her deeper into the social fabric. The entire block recognized that in protecting Ms. Galloway from Karen's false charges, they reaffirmed the core values of empathy and fairness that bound their community together. Several months later, Ms. Galloway found her life calmer. Freed from Karen's negative campaigns, she busied herself with new friendships, crocheting scarves for a local charity, and offering small yard gatherings. She rarely thought about the sabotage fiasco or the fear that overshadowed her days. The roof, validated by drone footage, needed only minor maintenance, which a neighbor's son helped with once a year. Karen lingered in Greystone Pines, but quieter. She typed occasional forum posts about trivial matters, someone's holiday lights left too long, a dog barking, but few responded. Freed from illusions of her moral high ground, neighbors saw these as petty annoyances. Ms. Delgado systematically closed each complaint file, referencing the fiasco that destroyed Karen's credibility. One crisp morning, Ms. Galloway ventured to the community center, noticing Karen in the distance. Their eyes met briefly. Karen's face flashed a complicated mix of anger and regret. Ms. Galloway offered a polite nod, which Karen did not return. Freed from intimidation, Ms. Galloway felt only pity. She recalled the emotional drain of those false claims, how easily Karen's scrutiny escalated into real harm. Yet ironically, that same adversity had forged stronger neighborly bonds. That day, Ms. Galloway sipped tea with Ms. K, reflecting on the fiasco. Ms. K admired Ms. Galloway's composure. Freed from overshadowing negativity, Ms. Galloway mused how technology and communal solidarity had shielded her from a forced re-roof. She was grateful for the unwavering support from neighbors. Ms. K said it was a testament to how empathy and reason overcame petty tyranny, referencing how the crafters overcame sabotage too in the past. A quiet resolve bound them. If new troubles arose, the neighborhood would stand together again. One afternoon, Ms. Galloway found a small envelope at her doorstep. Inside lay a short, typed note. "I apologize for any distress caused. My intentions were misunderstood. B. Arnett." No explicit mention of the fiasco, nor direct admission of wrongdoing, but an apology of sorts. Ms. Galloway felt conflicted. Perhaps Karen felt remorse. Freed from illusions, Ms. Galloway recognized it might be an attempt at saving face or staving off a lawsuit. Nonetheless, she appreciated the gesture. She shared the note with Ms. K and Ms. Delgado. Both suspected Karen might be fearfully anticipating potential defamation claims. Freed from overshadowing tension, Ms. Galloway simply accepted the note as closure. She had no interest in retribution. She'd already been vindicated. Meanwhile, Ms. K suggested Ms. Galloway respond politely, acknowledging the apology but not engaging deeply. Ms. Galloway penned a brief letter. "I accept your apology and hope we can move forward in peace. Lucille Galloway." She slipped it under Karen's door, feeling a quiet sense of finality. Freed from hostility, Ms. Galloway believed it best to hold no grudge. It was enough that her roof fiasco ended in truth. No further communication came from Karen. Some neighbors guessed she might eventually move or remain quietly in the background. Freed from illusions of controlling the neighborhood, Karen's presence had little effect. Ms. Galloway's acceptance of the apology reaffirmed the community's moral stance: compassion over vengeance. In the hush that followed, Ms. Galloway carried on unburdened, her roof fiasco a memory overshadowed by neighborly solidarity and a final, small note of contrition from Karen herself. A year later, Ms. Galloway's life in Greystone Pines was peaceful. Freed from false allegations, her day revolved around gentle yard work, crocheting sessions, and visits from neighbors. The drone inspection fiasco had long since faded, replaced by new communal events, like a block party and a children's rummage sale. In each endeavor, Ms. Galloway participated more actively, forging deeper bonds with folks who championed her cause. Karen, though rarely seen, remained in her house. She no longer filed petty violation notices. Freed from illusions of her unstoppable authority, the community advanced without her meddling. Ms. K, Ms. Delgado, and the crafters all breathed easier, focusing on projects that enriched the neighborhood, improving the park, hosting small festivals, or adopting a local charity drive. The gloom once cast by Karen's hostility dissolved in the bright warmth of communal spirit. One autumn evening, Ms. K and Ms. Galloway strolled side by side, noticing the roofline of each house in the golden sunset. Ms. Galloway's roof, still in fine shape, glowed under the sun's last rays, a quiet reminder of how adversity had been resolved. Freed from overshadowing negativity, Ms. Galloway felt gratitude. If not for the fiasco, she might never have realized how strongly her neighbors would stand up for her. She nodded to Ms. K. I never wanted conflict, but it showed me how kind people can be. Ms. K smiled. We overcame Karen's falsehoods by uniting, using technology fairly. That's the spirit of a real community. Indeed, the fiasco was a milestone, teaching them that no single meddling neighbor could overshadow the truth when the entire block rallied with empathy and reason. Freed from illusions, Ms. Galloway recognized that technology, a simple drone, coupled with neighbors' unwavering support, had saved her from a costly, undeserved burden. And so, Elmwood Greens carried on in quiet harmony. Ms. Galloway's roof fiasco became local lore, the day a cunning saboteur tried forging false violations, only to be foiled by high-resolution aerial footage. Freed from overshadowing tyranny, the neighborhood soared with renewed faith and solidarity, once again proving compassion and evidence-based truth can outshine petty malice. Just as Ms. Galloway's roof withstood storms, so too did the community's resolve withstand Karen's manufactured storm of lies.